think he won't bother anybody.
If I was you, I'd point it towards the, well, whichever way you want to
Well,
do
where
it.
you gonna be
I'm
standing?
going to be over there.
But you'd rather it be there?
Well, if they want to see the pictures. They'll hear me, but they'll see the pictures. That's what I was kind of thinking. That's Wayne Childress. He's one of Bob Childress's cousins. He's been playing music for us.
Hey.
Looks like a lot of Baptists in here. Everybody on the back bench.
Get ready. And they had, you know, they had to be in sometimes because they live in New York.
Eventually, I'll figure out what I'm doing.
By the time they drive, it's going to go back. So anyway, they'll be there for the vacation. So she's on site. I get she has two. Her son Alex has, who is in Virginia and he has a new baby girl. She's almost 6 months old. So, and I haven't seen her. I just did pictures. They might be able to come down.
Good morning, everybody. We'd like to welcome you to the Ararat Ruritan Club, and today we are pleased to host all of you guys into our community, and of course, Mr. Tom Perry, and I'm sure he's surprised I said Mr. He did my breakfast, so I have to, you know, do good by that. So just a few reminders. The bathrooms are right here. We have popcorn popped. If you want some, just raise your hand. We'll bring it out to you so you won't have to miss any of the program, and we have soft drinks and water also. We are accepting donations for Tom's family scholarship. That's what this is all about today, along with some of our other community service activities that we do here. So let's see, what all do we have going on here in Ararat, Kevin? We have, in August the 17th, we have a blood drive here.
1 p.m. to 6 p.m.
From 1 to 6, that's on a Thursday afternoon, and we will, for anybody that's local, I don't see a lot of local people here, but if you are, we are having a, thank you, I lost my train of thought, Candace night, on Tuesday. We have a lot going on in August. Tuesday, August 8th, and that will be for our local candidates here. Also, something that will be new here, we're doing in memory of McCrae, or Mac, some of his family called him affectionately. He died of leukemia several years ago at a young age of 46. McCrae was 46. Anyway, so there is a national program called Be the Match, that you can get your cheek swab. Basically, it's kind of like DNA, but it's not DNA. Same principle. A little swab, they'll keep it in a database, and you may become a match for someone who needs bone marrow in the case of leukemia or others. But we're doing that in honor of the memory of McCrae Smith, who was one of the local Smith boys here. So we have lots of other stuff. Check out our Facebook page. I won't bore you with all of that. We do meet on the first Thursdays of each month if you want to come out and get a free meal. We're always about eating. So without anything further, I think Mary's about ready to start her filming of today. And I'd like to introduce to you my friend and yours, Mr. Tom Perry.
Oh, Lord. Well, it's good to see everybody. Our next program is going to be in September. It's going to be Danny Martin's new book about moonshine. No free samples, though. I know Gary Hoback was about to ask me that. No free samples. This book is brand new. I published it, and it has a whole chapter about Jimmy Rohr in it. So we all grew up with Jimmy, or if you encountered Jimmy, we will be talking about him some at our next program. That's Jimmy Undercover, by the way. They put him in jails, and he'd act like he was a bootlegger, and he'd go off to, far southwestern Virginia, and he put him in the jail cell with the criminals, and they tell him everything. And like I said, Danny's got a whole chapter about it. So today we're going to talk about Reverend Bob Childress. How many Childresses we got in the room right now? We got a few. You're Childress. So we got a couple. We're going to discuss him mainly in Ararat. I think a lot of people don't realize Bob Childress lived half his life in Ararat, not up on the mountain rocking churches. He lived in Ararat. So we're going to talk about that. Here he is at Slate Mountain with a bunch of children later in life. And Kathy is here over here with her new book, which is Childress Cousins, which even has a chapter written by Bob Childress, which is a neat trick, I might add. Man's been dead since 1956. But she's got her new book here, so she's going to talk a little bit when I stop running my mouth. That's Bob calling now. God, I'm tired. Donna Fargo was here, July 4th? Yeah. And what is she? She's probably, 83 maybe?
Yeah.
She's probably 83. I saw her, she stayed till 10:30, 11 o'clock signing autographs. She absolutely wouldn't leave until everybody wanted to see her, got to see her. Yes.
About Donna Fargo, she, as I said, I graduated from high school in 1960. She probably graduated in 57 or something. But her name was Yvonne Vaughn, and her daddy and mama lived up on Slate Mountain, Ramey and Ada Vaughn. And Ramey was a bootlegger in addition to raising little tobacco. And Ada, my mom was a widow for a dozen years, got us raised, and Ada died, and we've known Ramey all my life. My daddy and he were tight, and so Mama and Ramey started seeing each other, and they married. So I was Donna Fargo's stepbrother for a while. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, she's a trooper. She stayed there, like I said, about 10:30 that night. I bet she spent maybe 6 hours signing autographs. Amazing. These pictures, by the way, are 11 years apart, so don't think that. My thing with Donna is, Donna was a cheerleader in Mount Airy High School. My Uncle Buddy played basketball in Mount Airy, so when they won the state championship.
Wait a minute.
Donna was
You related to Buddy?
Yeah, don't tell nobody.
Oh, wow.
Keep that down there. Oh, boy.
I remember well.
If you don't get enough of me this morning, I'll be at Pages from 2 to 4 with Bracky Rogers' new memoir. He and I have worked on this book a year, and he will tell you that if Bracky didn't call me at least every other day, I got worried. So that's a new book I've done, and that's coming out this afternoon. And Ann Gwynn found this picture, me in my '64 Volkswagen. I wrote a book about my car growing up in Ararat. Joey Smith said to me one day, "You ought to write a book about us." But I'd have to kill you. There's a whole chapter about Joey in this book. And I'm still alive. The other thing I'm working on, where are you, Shelby? Shelby, I'm working on a book about Ararat Ridge. We're going to bring the witch to life this fall. I got an illustrator drawing pictures of deers and stuff, and we're going to do that. The other thing I was going to show you is this is Mr. O.E. Pilson. I don't know if any of y'all even remember Mr. Ovis Eugene Pilson, but he was the mentor for a lot of us, people my age. He would take me around in his big old blue Chevelle and show me and tell me everything he knew about local history. And I think that's a commendable thing. He was a school teacher too, but I was just thinking about Mr. Pilson, and I wanted us to take a moment to remember him. Please come in. How y'all doing? Come on in. Mary wants you to sit with her.
Well,
Be careful.
plenty of
Be
seats
careful.
here.
You spend too much time with Mary, you might end up in a tobacco field. I don't know. So the reason we're here today, of course, is you do these programs to raise money for my scholarship I started in my mom and dad's name. And these are two books I wrote about him. My grandpa called my mother Doozy. Don't ask me why. I have no idea why she was Doozy, but she was. And of course, he had the greatest line in the world. He'd tell the women he was irresistible. Of course, my father was principal up here at Blue Ridge and Red Bank for many 30 years in Patrick County. So we do a scholarship every year to honor him and her. And that's what we're raising money for today. All my books that you buy, the money goes to the scholarship, and we have a donation if you're interested. Anybody have my father as a teacher at school? Yeah. Oh, Lord. Well, I'll ask the women, was he irresistible?
He used to say to me, if I met him in the hall, he said, age before beauty. At first, I didn't know what he meant.
That's when he was coaching.
Age before beauty, that's what he would say.
He was older and I don't know if I was beauty, but he said age before beauty.
Oh, Lord. I'm wearing my Linda Beck shirt today. Shelby and Carolyn's niece, I guess. Linda gave me this shirt about Ararat. Linda is determined that she was my daddy's favorite. That of all the women that went through Blue Ridge, Red Bank, that she was his favorite. Tammy Willis says that ain't true. Here's my mother and her sister Catherine. I'll tell you a funny story about this. My mother moved here in 1959. She moved into a little house right next door, the little block house. Some of you probably remember that. It was right here beside the Ruritan building. She worked for Dr. Tullidge, who I guess the office was here too. Somebody who's old enough to remember all
It's
that.
right here.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Right here,
right
this
here.
building.
So she worked for Dr. Tullidge, and in 1960, I guess when The Man Who Moved the Mountain came out as a book, she got it and read it. Well, anytime her family from Georgia would come up here, Mama would take them on the tour. So they'd go to Mabry Mill and eat pancakes, and they would go over to Mayberry to look at the church, and they'd go ride the Dan River Queen. These are all things we did. Some of us who are old enough to remember the Dan River Queen. And Amy and I went out scouting the churches on Monday. And I was reminded of my Aunt Catherine, who is shown here on the left, probably the greatest human being I have ever known. The most selfless woman. She raised 2 daughters by herself after her husband died. But she was from Augusta, Georgia. She was a city girl. So she shows up in Ararat, Virginia in the 60s with my mom as a tour guide, and off they go riding around. And I was reminded of this. We were over there near Indian River, and we're on this road, and it's getting narrow and narrow. And I was remembering my Aunt Catherine said, Betty, there ain't no lines on these roads. So it was my mother that introduced me to Bob Childress as a very young man reading The Man Who Moved the Mountain. Something else I discovered about Irresistible. Ray, where are you, Ray?
Right here.
Ray.
There he
Ray
is.
was on my daddy's 1961 county champion baseball team. I've been interviewing these fellas who are left, Joe Weatherman and Larry Smith and Ray and Julius Easter, among others, were on this baseball team, and they won the county, and there he is in 1961. Got his narrow tie and everything on. The thing was, my daddy was a great baseball player. He really was good at baseball. And he just loved baseball till the day he died. He's a Cardinals fan. And so anyway, there's a little history, and here's a little more. State champion, Patrick County High School won the state championship. So there's your little history. They all dyed their hair blonde for some reason. I thought that would make them better, I guess. But there they are, the state champions. So we've given away 6 of these scholarships now. I give them usually to a Patrick County senior who writes me a 1,000-word essay on history. I make them earn their money. And these are the ladies who have all won this scholarship. The last one this year was Macy Hall, who was Patrick Hall's daughter. And Macy's grandma, of course, Margie, was my dad's secretary at Blue Ridge. So it wasn't rigged. She really wrote the best essay, I think, of any of these young ladies. But these are all the ladies who have got the scholarship. And we give away 6 now. And 6 is in the room. And it's been my great pleasure to embarrass him. Cole Snyder right over here is Amy's grandson. Cole is kind of my grandson, although not biologically, just spiritually. And this is Gary Hoback. You recognize that pond?
Yes, sir.
Gary's got a lot of problems. I don't know what's going on down there. But that's Cole as a baby, learning how to prime tobacco. He bow hunts, so y'all be careful. Don't mess with him. Don't mess with him. But he wrote an essay on Daniel Boone. He wrote 11 pages on Daniel Boone. And stand up. It's the only time we've ever had one of the recipients show up at one of these things, so I wanted to embarrass him in public. How they did that while I was over. But you know, when we were growing up, we all watched Daniel Boone. Remember, it was on Sunday night on Disney. Fess Parker. We were very confused. We David Crockett and Daniel Boone were the same person. But there I am in my coonskin hat. We all had one. I have a great picture of Teddy Gwynn wearing this outfit, but I'm afraid to show that to you. I like to talk about famous people from Ararat. Andy Griffith's mom was from Ararat. Of course, Aunt Orlena Puckett, Hawks Puckett, was from Ararat. She was a midwife that delivered Bob Childress. This is a new picture of Jeb Stewart in the middle we discovered a couple weeks ago. He's at West Point, the middle picture at the top. And he's not got the beard, so he's probably throwing you for a loop. But there he is with the beard on the far right. And of course, we all know how famous Vito is, so I had to put him in the program. Kevin, are you offended yet? No, that's too bad. I'll tell you something about Vito. Vito has a truck just like mine, and if anything ever happens to mine, I'm going up and get some parts. And of course, Taylor, who's probably off at the flea market today, somewhere buying NASCAR stuff. Something else we've started doing is Dave Lusky and I have been taking people on tours of the Jeb Stewart Birthplace. If any of you are ever interested in doing that, just contact me. And Chip Bonder has told me this week they're going to rebuild a little piece of the dinghy and put it out there on the Birthplace. I think Wesley Brown found some rails. Joe Bill used to use it to hold up all the bridges on this farm, the rails from the dinghy. But if any of you are interested in that, we gave Tammy Large's grandchildren a tour a couple of weeks ago. We were at the Manor Museum, and this little boy walked up to him and asked him what his name was. He said, Jeb. It was Tammy's grandson. So, we're here today to talk about Bob Childress. And I have a chapter about Bob in my Ararat book. You know, Kathy has her book here, which is brand new, and we're going to let her talk here in just a minute about Bob. I don't pretend to be an expert on Bob Childress, so now I have to walk over here and look because I can't remember everything anymore. Here's a little genealogy map to show you how Kathy is related to him. What great something, I should tell you. And of course how Stewart Childress is related to Bob. And let's look at that for just a second. So our story begins with a fellow named David Sampson, who you probably never heard of. He was born in England in 1845. 1888, David Sampson started something called the Blue Ridge Mission, which purchased land in Patrick County. And he came up here and built a church and a school over several years, which of course is still our school. It was the Blue Ridge Mission School. David, the first principal was a guy named Samuel Pickett, and the head teacher is Sally Mashburn, and Mary Anderson. If you read The Man Who Moved the Mountain, those names are probably familiar to you. There she is, the first Blue Ridge. They had 27 acres. I think the first year they had 150 students. They built dorms for the men and the women at Blue Ridge.